Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is another complete history of video and I hope you enjoy. This rogue video is on Larfleeze, the only Orange Lantern, otherwise known as Agent Orange. There's only one Orange Lantern ring, orange being the power of greed, and this creature has it. The orange ring is the most self-destructive ring to whoever holds its power. His lantern's oath is, what's mine is mine, and mine and mine, and mine and mine and mine, not yours. I say that though I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a real oath for the Orange Lantern. Larfleeze cares about acquisition, that's it. Larfleeze grew up as a slave, hoarding food rations to survive. Then he was in a gang of thieves and went to the Vega system, where he found the Orange Lantern power battery. When he got its power, the Guardians of the Universe agreed to leave him be if he gave them back their stolen artifact. It happened, and the Guardians quarantined the Vega system from outsiders. After eons, though, the Green Lanterns broke the quarantine and contact the Guardians had with Larfleeze, making Larfleeze mad. There is even a time in history where Lex Luthor for 24 hours got to wear the Orange Lantern ring during Blackest Night. One of the most unique Lantern ring holders in DC, and this video is everything about the dude. This Green Lantern villain first premiered in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issue 25, January 2008. The first thing we ever see is the orange power battery being held tightly by someone, learning that orange is the power of greed. Later in the issue, we see orange constructs fighting. Next, with Larfleeze, was in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issue 28. It has the controllers agree to locate the Orange Lantern light. Next, he was in Final Crisis, Rage of the Red Lanterns. Once again, the controllers are looking for the orange power battery. These guys want the orange light for their own power. Larfleeze's next time made a physical appearance in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issues 38 through 40. The controllers found an Orange Lantern power battery and attempted to claim it, only for Agent Orange, or Larfleeze, to unleash the Orange Lanterns from the battery to kill the controllers. Larfleeze sent the Orange Lanterns to capture the Green Lantern Stell. Stell was captured and seriously damaged, and Larfleeze ordered the Orange Lanterns to brand Steel with their seal. After Stell was saved and brought back to the Guardians, then a hologram of Larfleeze busted forth and confronted the Guardians about the attempt to steal the orange battery. Although the Guardians pointed out it was the controllers who had entered the Vega, Larfleeze refused to listen and declared that the treaty was null and void, and that the Guardians would submit to his demands or face the wrath of the Orange Lanterns. Saying that the Guardians did not negotiate with terrorists, Scar blasted the Larfleeze hologram and presented a motion to repeal the Vega ban. And the story continued in issues 41 and 42. And then the Guardians and the Green Lanterns went to Akara and got attacked by Larfleeze, Akara being the home world of the Orange Lantern. In the fight, Larfleeze's orange constructs drain the life out of the Guardians and Lantern constructs to best them. He soon finds out that Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, has a blue lantern ring he cannot drain power from, so to get it for himself, he cuts off Hal's arm to get it. When he does, he finds his insatiable hunger is gone. Actually, that was all an illusion from the blue lantern ring, the ring of hope, since that's what Larfleeze hoped for the most in that moment. Larfleeze leaves in the end to go after a blue lantern ring after he tells off the Guardians, saying he hasn't shared his ring's power ever, so he knows he's more powerful than them. He was in Blackest Night, Issue 1. It was just a cameo, though. Larfleeze was next in Blackest Night, Tales of the Corpse, Issues 1 and 2. At the start of Issue 1, he is attacking the Blue Lanterns for their rings. Out of the sun comes a Blue Lantern ring, which elects Brody Walker of Astoria for his ability to install hope. At the end of Issue 2, he defeats the guy Bloom. This history of Bloom is revealed, including how he became one of the Orange Lanterns and Orange Lantern construct. He was in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issues 44 and 45. Larfleeze is seen still obsessing over getting a Blue Lantern ring. Larfleeze, still trying to get a Blue Lantern ring for his constructs, gets a flood of Black Lantern rings around him that attach and resurrect the dead who have become his dead Orange Lantern avatars, basically all back and hating Larfleeze surrounding him. And he was in Blackest Night, Issue 3, that came out November 2009. Here, he is an Easter egg / cameo. I still don't really get the difference between the two that well. He was in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issue 47 and 48. While the good Lanterns fight Larfleeze's constructs attacking the Blue Lanterns, Larfleeze, while running from the Black Lantern zombies, bumps into Atrocitus wanting Larfleeze's power battery. Things happen, and Atrocitus and Larfleeze work together to fight all the Black Lantern identities that Larfleeze has stolen over the years to form his Orange Lantern Corps. While Atrocitus is distracted, Larfleeze knocks out Atrocitus and leaves with his battery. Larfleeze then unleashes his Orange Lantern Corps to fight the Black Lanterns, but the zombies just fly right through them, scaring Larfleeze to go back to Atrocitus to wake him up for help. Larfleeze later agrees to work with the Lanterns to fight the Black Lanterns to protect life in his sector, just like he had fought against the Manhunters to protect life in his sector years and years ago, and in return, he wants his own guardian. Then came this comic Rebels, Volume 2, Issue 10. In this future story, we see a flashback with just the entity of the Orange Lantern being shown fighting. Next came Blackest Night, Issues 5 and 6. So, working with the other lanterns, thanks to the Blue Lantern Ring, if Larfleeze is always around it, his hunger, his greed will be satisfied, and Hal Jordan Green Lantern then creates a construct of a pair of hands that bring Larfleeze and a power battery so close that it actually charges Larfleeze's ring to 100,000%. During the Blackest Night event, all of the lantern rings the main lantern holders are wearing go and attach themselves to other characters in DC to help the fight, and the Orange Lantern Ring, which Larfleeze wants, of course, goes to Lex Luthor. Larfleeze was in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issues 50 and 51. Since Lex is obsessed with power, the Orange Ring of Greed obviously fits him perfectly, and he hits back the Black Lanterns. At the same time, he is fighting off Larfleeze trying to get Lex's ring. With Lex having to deal with the Orange Lantern entities and the Black Lanterns, he tells Larfleeze that on his world, life's about owning things, which intrigues Larfleeze. Then came Blackest Night, Wonder Woman, Issue 3. Here, he's a cameo, shown wrestling with Lex Luthor for his power ring still. The story continued and concluded in Blackest Night, Issues 7 and 8. Lex Luthor loses it eventually and tries to take everyone's lantern rings. Thankfully, in issue 8, Larfleeze takes his power battery back from Luthor. Next came Green Lantern Volume 4, Issue 53 with Larfleeze. Lex Luthor is searching for a Black Lantern ring on Earth, if there is one after Blackest Night. Larfleeze then breaks into his lab with the Guardian Saeed, who pledged himself to Larfleeze, or herself to Larfleeze, to be his guardian after he helped them defeat the Black Lantern Corps. Larfleeze questions Lex what's the most valuable thing people on Earth can have, and he tells Larfleeze that it's land, so now Larfleeze wants land. Next, Larfleeze was in Green Lantern Volume 4, Issues 56 through 60. Larfleeze is shown to have taken up residence in a small upper Midwestern town. He sends his Orange Lanterns into town to steal things for him. Well, Hal Jordan confronts him and tells him to leave the town alone. Larfleeze talks to Hal Jordan and says that he will not need to ransack the town anymore because he has learned of the legend of Santa Claus. Green Lantern tries to tell him that Santa, doesn't really work that way, but Larfleeze doesn't believe him. But then, Hector Hammond, he's another Green Lantern villain, he arrives and eats the Orange Lantern battery Larfleeze carries around. This frees the entity inside of it called Ophelion, and the entity of Avarice takes Hammond as its host, and Ophidian doesn't like Larfleeze, and Ophidian, if you did not know, is the entity of Avarice, entity of Greed. Think of him as Parallax to Sinestro. Anyway, Larfleeze escapes and Hal fights this new creature, which, bottom line, Larfleeze doesn't have his power battery anymore, just his ring. In the next issue, we see Larfleeze acting crazy in Las Vegas, saying he cannot live without his lantern. He is later taken to Zamaron with Hal and Carol Ferris. Larfleeze is shaken and discovered at Point, possessed by the being named the Predator, knows of his past, that he was taken from his family, and that Larfleeze is not even his real name. Larfleeze almost kills Point to keep him from speaking his real name. This event causes Green Lantern to fight Larfleeze, where Larfleeze brings up a point that Hal is stopping Larfleeze from killing Point like it's the right thing to do, but Hal is working with more bad guys than good guys today. Anyway, then they all meet a young woman who has been possessed by the Hope entity, Adara. Adara reveals to a shocked Larfleeze that his parents are still alive and that they miss him. And then came the story Green Lantern Larfleeze Christmas Special. It is a funny story, and maybe his best one. It is my favorite holiday, Christmas, and Larfleeze jumps out of bed just like a little kid on Christmas morning, literally. But when he gets downstairs, there was nothing left for him under the tree. He thinks someone robbed him, or, what he thinks is more logical, that Santa himself robbed him. So he attacks every costume Santa in Minnesota, but then a little kid tells him Santa lives in the North Pole, so he goes there. And Hal Jordan follows him, tells him what Christmas is all about, the spirit of Christmas, so Larfleeze then gives everything he's got with him away, then says he doesn't like the Christmas spirit after all. From the suggestion Hal gives him, he looks over his Christmas list and sees if he actually needed anything on there, and a part on his list on which he had written, quote, "My family." Then he was in Action Comics 897 and 898. Larfleeze is back in Luthor's life, saying he needs something Lex is looking for. Larfleeze attacks Lex Luthor because he thinks he has his orange power battery. But Larfleeze is swallowed up into the Black Lantern spear that had converted itself to white, leaving Lex the victor. In fact, Larfleeze says that he doesn't want the Black Lantern power Lex wants, and rejoices that there is something he doesn't want in the world. Next was Green Lantern Volume 4, issues 62 through 64. It's mostly a War of the Green Lanterns prologue. The villain Krona has taken down the Guardians and still has Larfleeze's power battery. Larfleeze and Atrocitus appear and ask for Hal's help in stopping Krona. And yeah, Larfleeze during the fight survives and even gets his power battery back. Then came Action Comics number 900. Once again, he is in an issue as a little cameo. Green Lantern Volume 4, issues 66 and 67 were the last issues of Green Lantern Volume 4, and yep, Larfleeze was in it. As a cameo. Then, Larfleeze made his first media appearance, also his first video game appearance in DC Universe Online. Larfleeze was added December 2011. If you play as a hero, you are recruited by Hal Jordan and are sent to stop Larfleeze and his Orange Lantern Corps from stealing various Christmas presents and gifts from Gotham City and Metropolis and sending them to Okara. As a villain, you're recruited by Sinestro. During the 2011 Christmas Greetings event, Larfleeze can be seen in various locations in Metropolis and Gotham stealing presents and Christmas trees. During the 2012 Winter Holidays Christmas seasonal event, Larfleeze took advantage of the conflict between the Green Lanterns and Sinestro Corps and steals their rings, hoarding them in a secret research facility in order to boost the power of his own Orange Lantern Corps. Larfleeze is an ally during the final fight in Blackest Night as well here in the game. Obsessed with acquiring material items thanks to his power of his ring, Larfleeze desires to steal all of Christmas and the festive presents and trees involved in the holiday. Yep, he is a villain in this game and has light powers. He can fly and his fighting style is martial arts. To defeat him, you overload his power battery. And next was Green Lantern and New Guardians issue 3 through 5. This storyline was Larfleeze's first appearance in the New 52. Just wanted to put that out there. While exploring Okara, Agent Orange, Larfleeze, attacks Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. During the fight, Kyle Rayner learns that something tried to take the Orange Lantern ring from Larfleeze, and he was only able to resist it because he's always had his orange power battery with him. The Ori that was apparently responsible for the theft of the rings, Kyle discovers that the worlds were aware of Larfleeze's existence, identifying him as, quote, the Beast, with the ruler Archangel. So basically that's why these new bad guys wanted to take Larfleeze's power away from him. Next was a story called Tiny Titans, issue 49. This is a little of 2 pages of his appearance being a greedy guy, stealing from a fridge, then leaving. He was in Green Lantern New Guardians, issue 7, May 2012. And a flashback story for Larfleeze, Archangel reveals that Larfleeze was responsible for his banishment from the universe centuries ago and seeks revenge. Although Saint Walker assumes that Larfleeze is responsible for the Reach attacking the Blue Lantern Corps, Larfleeze states that he would never do such a thing as it would involve sharing the pleasure of their defeat. The next month, he was in Green Lantern Volume 5, Issue 8. He was in this artwork, a flashback to Blackest Night. Larfleeze appeared in Green Lantern New Guardians issues 11 and 12. Larfleeze notices one of his toys are missing, and even after being told Glomulus is gone, he calls him back, and after arguing with his guardian about why the other guardians are interfering so much lately, maybe it's to sabotage him, Kyle Rayner, a Green Lantern, and others attack Larfleeze, and gets into a huge battle with the Orange Lantern. When Green Lantern is down, Glomulus checks up on him, and Larfleeze kills him, calling him a traitor. But just then, above them, they see the new villain, Invictus, who is here to destroy Larfleeze and everything he has because he remembers it was Larfleeze who destroyed his race. So Larfleeze has to team up with the Lanterns to stop Invictus. So ultimately, Invictus loses power being away from his ship for so long and at such a great distance that he is beaten by Larfleeze personally. Then came an appearance in Green Lantern Volume 5, Issue 12. Once again, another cameo because he is an Orange Lantern holder. Next came Green Lantern New Guardians 15. Today, Star Sapphire has gone to Larfleeze's home to ask for his help and sees what Larfleeze really wants in his heart, his family back, who are still alive and out there. This reveal sets Larfleeze off into fighting, but during the fight through Kyle Rayner has Red Lantern Power Rage and throws Larfleeze back. One thing I want to say is Larfleeze's orange constructs do have names. Cebus, Klypta, Natnat, Said, Tamal, Tyan, and Warp. They're really weird names, you guys. Anyway, finally, he also gets Kyle Rayner Green Lantern also gets the Orange Lantern's power of greed / avarice too. The next thing for the Orange Lantern came in animation, his first TV appearance in the Green Lantern the Animated Series, episode 23 titled Larfleeze, which premiered February 23rd, 2013. Green Lantern and his partners Kilowog and Razor search the planet Okara for the mystical Orange Lantern battery as a way to combat the Anti-Monitor. Anyway, one thing though is it's being protected by Larfleeze. Razor earlier told the story of the Orange Lantern Corps mysteriously disappearing. An Orange Lantern battery was only kept by the last remaining Orange Lantern Corps. Hal manages to fight off Larfleeze's Orange Lantern constructs and bring the Orange Lantern battery back, but the Orange Lantern makes him become obsessed with greed and wants the Orange Lantern all to himself, leaving the ship with Kilowog and Razor and wanting the orange power for himself forever. It's the same obsession that has destroyed Larfleeze's life. Here in the show, Larfleeze is voiced by D. Bradley Baker. When he was consumed by the Orange Lantern energy of avarice, he got an insane desire to possess everything he wants to have. He mostly prefers his orange battery and orange power rings, though, to the extent of begging two strangers, Kilowog and Razor, for help to return them back to him from Hal. Due to his greed, he suspects everyone arriving to his planet, to his lair, to be a thief and tries to be protecting his possessions, but he manages to get his Orange Lantern battery back. Larfleeze is shown to actually be thankful when he receives help too. He is a funny character here and tries to give them something for their help, but he just can't do it, so he decides to just wish them a safe trip back. He was in Green Lantern Corps Volume 3, Annual 1. Here, Larfleeze is a cameo. Next came the series Threshold, issues 1 through 5. The thing is, he only had his own little miniseries in the very end of the comic, Story B. The first part is Larfleeze getting tricked into leaving his home, then being robbed. Larfleeze learned about the Book of Oa, a text in the possession of the Guardians. This made Larfleeze jealous as he wanted his own book about him. He kidnapped an alien man named Pulsar Stargrave to become his butler and write the text for him. Larfleeze decided to hire a group of smugglers known as the Star Rovers to help him find the criminals who robbed him, specifically a guy named Branks. However, a fight broke out between Branks and Larfleeze after Branks insisted that he would have to pay. However, Branks began to win the fight because of the ring's low charge. The authorities came and tried to arrest Larfleeze, but his ring made constructs he could not control and they attacked everyone. After the conflict, Branks agreed to help Agent Orange. After a small nasal investigation, Rancor deducted Larfleeze had all of his possessions on him. As everyone began speculating on what this meant, Said appeared out of Larfleeze's ring as a construct, claiming that she wanted revenge for her death. After a little fight, Said was contained in the Orange Lantern ring once more. Said communicated with Larfleeze in the ring, telling him that before her death, she programmed his mind so that at the point of her death, Larfleeze would take all of his treasure and destroy it, including the avarice battery, the greed battery. Said told him that she also programmed a construct in his mind of herself, so that if she wasn't killed by Larfleeze, Said would still have her revenge. With this knowledge, Said left the distraught Larfleeze with his final possession, Stargrave, alone. Then came Green Lantern New Guardians, issue 18. In this story, Larfleeze is seen with a wife and son, and as he gives his son a gift, he snatches it back, saying, "Mine." This was actually because of a character named First Lantern, who has shown Larfleeze what he really wishes for. He did this to question what the Orange Lantern did to change Larfleeze. In conclusion, the First Lantern comes to that the Orange Lantern ring found Larfleeze, since Larfleeze has always been greedy like this. Next, Larfleeze was in issue 20. Here he has a cameo. Larfleeze appeared in Green Lantern Volume 5, issues 20 to 22. In issue 20, he has a cameo, but this is where he says his oath, or what everybody says is the Orange Lantern Oath. Issue 21 has Larfleeze and the Orange Lantern Corps arriving to take everything that the Green Lantern Corps had just confiscated. Of course, Larfleeze's greed needs to be stopped today, and he gets easily defeated. In fact, he can't even seem to control his orange constructs anymore. Next came the issue Green Lantern Corps New 52, issue 21. In here, he had a cameo. The next story in Larfleeze's history was his entire solo series that went through August 2013 to July 2014. Here, I'm going to go through the story 4 issues at a time, so first, here's issues 1 through 4. We see Larfleeze's full origin as it's revealed when he got the Orange Lantern, he went crazy and butchered everyone who was with him on his hunt when he found it. Right now, Larfleeze is floating on a rock to his death since he has nothing anymore after his miniseries in the Threshold comics. One thing, there Larfleeze meets Laord of the Hunt, a pan-dimensional cosmic entity that believes all living things are prey and is out to turn the universe into his own private hunting reserve. Larfleeze and Stargrave find an unlikely ally when the Wanderer comes calling after Larfleeze is almost killed by Laord. A bunch of other aliens want to sell Larfleeze off. To escape, he tries to kill them and make them more of his orange, constructs. Well, that doesn't go so well, and now Larfleeze has an army of Orange Lanterns, but they all hate him, and there's a fight. But in the end, Larfleeze actually loses the battle. Now, let's talk about issues 5 through 8. Beaten up and burnt, living his worst fear, being in possession of someone else's, he flashes back to his past, where it's shown that he was a snitch and a guard, an enemy of his whole race, who were the real slaves. Larfleeze wakes up and realizes this, how he did not free the slaves but added on to their number, which destroys him. But a dream snaps him back to reality to save the universe and his created Orange Lantern, since Larfleeze is not going to be their slave to sell off and do with as they please. They find him again. Larfleeze this time getting a power boost from his Orange Lantern and taking away their power. Larfleeze has become a living power battery now, but he's branded public enemy number 1 by the Council of 10. So this villain, so to say, called Adora of Heart's Desire, fights Larfleeze, but Larfleeze completely, tortures the character and gets away. His goal now is getting his butler, Stargrave, back. And now the finale in issues 9 through 12. After fighting, he finds out the source of his power is killing him. To fix it, Larfleeze literally digs into the new power battery, or something like that, to save himself. Then he fights this character named Cena. Because of the way it looks, how it looks like Larfleeze has completely destroyed this world, some heroes all fight Larfleeze and Lord. Because Larfleeze has had plenty of fights against the Green Lanterns before, he breaks out of the cuffs one made him, only for the fight to be more personal. All is revealed after Larfleeze wins, and the robot confesses the truth about how Larfleeze actually saved his world. And yeah, that's why the heroes were fighting Larfleeze, because he said that Larfleeze was the villain. The end of the universe is still coming, so Larfleeze by himself stands tall. Larfleeze and his cousin work together to save the universe. Yes, that Green Lantern is actually a relative of Larfleeze's, his cousin. And in the very end, they walk off together, a reunited family, a happy ending. Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham released November 11th, 2014, and Larfleeze had a whole level dedicated to him. He was also a playable character. He was the boss fight in the level Need for Greed. Larfleeze was kidnapped by Brainiac, and he used all the ring's powers to shrink the Earth. He was soon cured from his hypnosis, and was sent back to Okara, where the Justice League snuck in to take his orange power battery. In free play for the Need for Greed level, his character token is there to collect. You can buy him for 1 million studs. Yep. Playing as Larfleeze is one of the most unique looking and animated LEGO characters in all the games. His idle animation is him creating and holding closely the orange power battery. And yes, he can fly. The main difference between him and the other lanterns is just the way he looks, honestly. Larfleeze was in Green Lantern New Gods Godhead, issue 1. During the story, some guy steals one of Larfleeze's Orange Lantern rings. He was in Star Trek Green Lantern The Spectrum War, issues 3 through 6. Larfleeze interrupts Decadus's speech of conquest and makes a joke. That's it for issue 3. I have no idea why the cover looks like he's gonna fight Spock and the rest of the Star Trek captains. In issue 4, Larfleeze decides he wants to work together. Honestly, in the end, Larfleeze gets away. He only had maybe 5 pages worth of stuff out of the whole 4 issues, but anyway. On March 11th, 2016, Larfleeze was in the game DC Legends. Larfleeze is a very well-rounded character. He has a life-stealing blast and attacks that gain him meter and healing called It's All Mine and Your Soul Is Mine. He gets stronger and stronger as enemies fall. He was very fast and had no leadership ability though. His biggest weakness was stealing, as weird as that is. He was next in Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps issues 10 through 13. On his travels, Larfleeze was able to retrieve a robot called Brainiac 2.0. Larfleeze converted Brainiac 2.0 into his servant and used his shrinking technology to solve his storage space issue. With the help of Brainiac 2.0, Larfleeze was able to capture the Galactic Conqueror Starro and used him as bait to capture the Green and Yellow Lantern Corps. When the Green and Yellow Corps started fighting, this made Larfleeze worried as he believed they would kill each other, so he released them so they would stop fighting. Green Lantern soon began to release Larfleeze's collection. The Yellows were then able to overwhelm him due to his fear of loss, making him flee the planet. He then destroyed Brainiac 2.0 and absorbed him into his ring so that he would serve him forever as an orange construct. Issue 13. It had the tale told from the shrunken planet Zundar. This Larfleeze had the Lanterns trapped in, the planet they were trapped in. Anyway, Larfleeze was in the Star Trek Green Lantern Stranger Worlds issues 2 through 5, but just as cameos. Next came Green Lantern Space Ghost Special. Larfleeze attacks a stranger who is the Space Phantom, and Space Phantom fires back. July 2017, he was in KFC Across the Universe. Someone is stealing the KFC burgers. And it's Larfleeze, obviously. So Colonel Sanders with the Green Lantern ring travels to Okara. These two fight. Yes, this happened, and it's sort of canon too. This is all resolved when the Colonel Sanders gives Larfleeze his own KFC for Okara to manage. Yes, Larfleeze falls for that. Larfleeze appeared in Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps issue 32, January 2018. But at that, he was barely even an Easter egg. March 29th, 2018, Larfleeze was in the game DC Unchained. I think he was one of the best characters to play as in the game, but really from what I saw, he was kind of just an alternate skin. But it's cool that he was in another game. Larfleeze's last appearance to date was in the single-issue Tales from the Dark Multiverse Blackest Night, January 2020. And yes, this is another flashback to him being the Orange Lantern in Blackest Night. And that was everything about anything when it comes to Larfleeze up to June 2021, the only Orange Lantern holder. Larfleeze was a slave that rose to be a leader of a band of interstellar thieves, whose greed led him to be the Orange Lantern. Just an idea, but I think we need a story where Brainiac fights Larfleeze for the Orange Lantern power. He is a funny character who's all about one thing, possession. Something I saw that I wonder is Larfleeze and the Orange Lantern power is kinda like Cyttorak from the Marvel Comics, maybe? Of course I like Larfleeze because of his uniqueness and cool looking orange power, and the fact that he loves Christmas. His Christmas special was the perfect Larfleeze story. And I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching the complete history of Larfleeze, and have a good day.